Hello. Have you ever said yes to something and then almost immediately thought, oh my, why did I say yes to that? Why did I say yes to that? I have so much going on right now. Maybe it was someone that asked you to pick up an extra shift at work or take on another task on your already full plate. Maybe it was someone asking you to volunteer for something. Or, like I said, help with one more project. Or go to an event that you really don't want to be going to. Or maybe it's not even someone asking you something. Maybe you found another program, another project, another opportunity or hobby, and thought, ooh, I should do that too. And then suddenly you're looking at your calendar, wondering, how am I ever going to fit all this in? This is something that I've been realizing lately. Overwhelm doesn't always come from having too much to do. Sometimes it comes from giving too many things a yes on an already full plate. And there's actually a reason that we do this. Our brains love familiar patterns because familiar is efficient and safe. So we think if we've always done this for years and years, we're always the dependable one. We're always the helper. We've always been the one who figures it out, or the one who doesn't want to disappoint anybody. Saying yes becomes almost automatic because it's a familiar pattern that our brain has recognized. Your brain isn't necessarily stopping to ask, is this actually good for me? It's recognizing that a certain situation, a familiar situation, is happening and it's running a familiar response to that familiar situation. So someone asks you a question, someone asks you to help, you think, I can help. And your immediate response is, yes, I'll help. That's why sometimes the yes comes out of your mouth before you've even thought about whether or not you actually have the time or energy for that yes. So I wonder if anybody has ever done this before. When you hear yourself saying yes and then almost immediately think, why did I just agree to that? That's what I want to focus on today. And I want to be able to give you three really simple ways to be able to decide what actually deserves your time and energy before you commit to it, so it doesn't create that overwhelm. And stick with me, because at the end, I'm going to give you one question that can make saying no or even not right now a whole lot easier. But before we get into that, tell me in the comments, are you someone who tends to say yes first and then figure out how to make it work afterwards? Give me a high five if that's you. The first question, the first tip I want to leave you with is a question you ask yourself. Instead of asking, can I do this? Ask, what is this going to cost me? And this is especially important for really busy women who are busy being career women, busy being moms, busy being women, because we're used to figuring everything out. So when someone asks if you can help with something, can you do this? And technically, yes, yes, you can, because we can handle a lot. But that's not the right question to be asking yourself. Instead, you should be asking, what is saying yes going to cost me? And here's where this gets really, really interesting. Sometimes saying yes isn't really about having the time to commit to it. Your brain is constantly making predictions based on past experiences. So if saying yes has historically helped you avoid conflict, get approval from someone, feel needed, or prevent someone from being disappointed in you or with you, your brain has learned that saying yes is safer than saying no. So when someone asks you for something, that discomfort of possibly disappointing them can feel more urgent than any future energy drains or exhaustion that you're going to experience from taking on one more thing in your already full schedule. Your brain wants to get rid of the discomfort that's happening right now. That's what our brains are meant to do. They're meant to keep us safe. So it's going to revert to the safe option, to the familiar option. And yeah, a lot of times the fastest way to do that is to say, sure, I'll do it. And you might feel immediate relief, but now you've just handed that discomfort to your future self because you already have a full plate. You already have commitments and a full calendar. So the cost is not just a financial cost. That's not the cost that I'm talking about. The cost I'm talking about is your time, your energy. What's that going to do to your sleep? If you're packing your day full of things, are you going to get to bed at a reasonable hour? Or what does that do to your family time, the quality time you enjoy having with them, or your downtime, which includes your mental bandwidth, or even just the cost of the time for things that you've already committed to? How does that take away from those things? Because it's really, really easy for something to fit into an empty square on your calendar. If you do time blocking, like I talked about last week or the week before, it's easy to fit into that empty square, but still not fit into your life because there's just so much going on. You might technically have 2 hours available Saturday morning, but what if that was the only 2 hours you've had all week where nobody needs anything from you? Then those 2 hours aren't necessarily free. Those 2 hours are the hours that you needed to be able to recover from a full week. So before you say yes, ask, what does this require from me? And am I really willing to pay that price? So tell me in the comments, time or energy? Which one do you feel like you're shortest on right now? Time or energy? The second thing you should ask yourself when someone asks you to take on something in an already full calendar, what am I saying no to if I say yes to this? And this one is really, really big because we tend to think of saying yes as adding something. But every time you say yes to one thing, you're actually saying no to something else. And you might just not realize that. That if you say yes to another commitment, what am I saying no to? Am I saying no to my workout in the morning because I'm going to be so exhausted I'm not going to be able to get out of bed? Or like I said earlier, am I saying no to not getting to bed at a decent hour? So I'm saying no to my sleep or no to dinner with my family that is really important to me, or that quiet time that I was really looking forward to doing and having. Sometimes we're so much chasing the next thing because this new thing feels so exciting that we've been asked to do. And it might feel like this is finally going to be the thing that makes things easier, faster, or better. But if that new thing takes our attention away from something that might already be working, then a lot of times we can end up starting over instead of allowing ourselves enough time to see the results of what we've already committed to. So that new opportunity, whatever it might be, isn't automatically a better opportunity. And there's another brain piece here, of course, because I'm studying all that. So I'm going to bring that into these. New things can be incredibly appealing to our brains because of the novelty of it. And that can create a lot of anticipation and a dopamine response, which is that feel good little drip that we get. So starting something new can feel really exciting, and the possibility feels really good. But continuing to do the same thing we've already committed to isn't always so exciting, which is why the shiny object syndrome comes in. And we get really excited about this new thing, like I said, because of the dopamine hit we get, because of how exciting it feels. So our brain can start whispering, maybe this will work faster. Maybe this is the right thing to do. Maybe this is what I've been missing. And before we know it, we've given another yes, not because the old thing wasn't working, but because the new thing felt better in that moment because of that dopamine drip. And sometimes when we are lacking trust in our ability to have the right answer, it looks like being willing to tolerate. It looks like not being willing to tolerate the boredom or the uncertainty of staying with what you've already chosen to do and allowing that the time it needs to actually work. So I'm curious about this one. Have you ever said yes to something new and then realized again you didn't have time for that something because you've already overcommitted yourself? Put a yes in the comments if you've done that. I definitely have. And yes, I teach you how to break free from overwhelm and create work-life balance. But I'm also learning how to not fall back into the shiny object syndrome that I tend to have a tendency to do because I'm human. But I know what it takes to pull myself out of that. So the third question then you want to ask yourself is, it's more of a three-step question. Is this a hell yes, a not now, or a firm no? Use that as a test before automatically committing. Give yourself the options instead of just yes or no. Because the really important option is not right now. Hell yes would be, does this support what matters most to me in this season of where I am right now in my life with everything that I have going on right now? Not now allows you the ability to pause and check your calendar, to check to see what the cost is going to be by committing to that thing. And maybe it's not something that you really truly want to do, but giving yourself the ability to pause before answering yes or no allows you the time to know if it's going to fit in your schedule. And if it's a no, is it because you aren't wanting to feel guilty for saying no? Or you feel obligated to have to say yes and you're afraid of disappointing someone? The key to remember here with these three options, hell yes, not now, or no, is you don't have to answer immediately. No matter what the question is, you don't have to answer immediately. You can say, let me check, and I'll get back to you. That little pause gives your thinking brain a chance to catch up before your automatic yes brain makes the decision for you because of the excitement that is there, or the guilt that might show up, or the FOMO that you experience. And this is why one of the most powerful things that you can learn to do is create a little space between the request and how you respond. Because we're trying to interrupt that automatic pattern long enough to make a decision that's going to benefit you and your energy. So you're giving yourself time to get out of the emotional reaction and actually consider, like I said, does this deserve my time and my energy? So now I'm curious, how many of you would make a completely different decision if you gave yourself even 30 minutes before answering instead of answering on the spot? And here's the question I promised you at the beginning. Does saying yes to this request move me closer to the life I'm trying to create? Or does it just give me more to manage? That's the question. That's the ultimate question you should ask yourself when someone asks you to do something. Because you don't need to prove that you're capable of doing more. You are definitely capable of doing more. The goal isn't to see how much you can carry on your shoulders. The goal is to choose intentionally what deserves to be carried in the first place. And sometimes creating more balance isn't about finding a better planner or waking up earlier or becoming more productive or by learning how to squeeze yet another thing into your busy day. Sometimes balance comes from realizing this doesn't deserve my time or energy right now. So if you've realized today that your automatic yes response isn't always about what's actually on your calendar, that sometimes it's coming from the thoughts that are running through your head, I have something that can help. And maybe your thoughts sound similar to these, like, I don't want them to be disappointed in me. I should be able to handle this. But they need me. Or maybe this new thing will finally be the answer. Those thoughts can drive our decisions before we even realize they're doing it. So instead of just giving you my notes today, I'd like to give you my Thought Buster Guide, which is going to help you start recognizing and questioning some of those thoughts instead of automatically letting them make the decision for you. So if you'd like that guide, comment thoughts and I'll send it to you. And the goal here isn't just to get better at saying no. It's to understand what's making you feel like you have to say yes in the first place. So before your next yes, don't just ask, do I have time for this? Ask, what thought is making me feel like I need to say yes? And then pause long enough to decide whether that thought or you gets to make the decision. I'll see you next time.